we're learning. We're just kind of keeping up, refreshing our skills. So in the box here, all these terms, stuff we've already mentioned. So to solve a polynomial, you have to get it into factored form. So factored form is where we have our greatest common factor out in front. So you can write it as, it'll kind of look like your GCF is here. You'll have parentheses and you'll have some blanks to fill inside of your parentheses. That's what factored form looks like. A factor is a number that divides another number evenly. So, for example, the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. The factors of 15 are 1, 3, 5, 15. Factors of 36, 1, 2, 4, 8, 6, so on, 12, 32. So when we're factoring a polynomial and we're putting it in our factored form, our greatest common factor is going to be a monomial that divides evenly into each term. So that's what we're looking for. So we're going to start just by doing that, taking these polynomials and putting them in factored form. So your first step is always to figure out what your greatest common factor is. The way I look at it is I first look, what's my greatest common factor between my two coefficients? Well, 3 and 6, 3. And then when I look at my variables, I always take the variable that has the lowest degree. So my lowest degree, I have x to the third, which is third degree, and x squared, which is second degree. So my GCF will be 3x squared. So that's kind of your first step you'll always have to do. Your second step will be to divide by your GCF. So I'd write out your original, 3x cubed minus 6x squared. So just rewriting this. And then we're dividing each term by your GCF. Zoom in a little bit. When we're at this step, the last step, if we're just putting into factored form, oh, that was big. We want your factored, this is all off now. Your factored form, or I'll abbreviate it as, we can write FF. You put your greatest common factor out in front, so 3x squared. Then inside your parentheses, it's whatever you get from when you divide. So divide your big numbers. 3 divided by 3 is 1. X cubed divided by x squared, you'd subtract your x, your powers. So this would be, you'd be left with an x. And then negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Then x squared divided by x squared is 1. So you don't write that. So this would be your final answer in factored form. So if I ever asked you to put something into factored form, this is what I'm looking for. So let's try the next one. Again, first step, find your GCF. Between 5 and 20, that's 5. Then x to the 5th and x squared. Our lowest degree term is x squared. So our GCF, our greatest common factor, is 5x squared. So I'm rewriting what I have. Now I'm factoring out or dividing by my GCF. Put it in factored form. That's what the FF is standing for. So you put your 5x squared, your GCF, in the front of your parentheses. And then we fill in what we have. 5 divided by 5 is 1. X to the 5th divided by x squared is x to the 3rd. Negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. X squared divided by x squared is 1. So don't write that. So that's our final answer. It's already in factored form. Ready to move on if we needed to. So our last example now, example C, 4x to the 3rd minus 12x. One thing you want to be careful of is don't always just assume that this 4 is your GCF. The number that comes first is your GCF, or your smallest number is your GCF. In this case it is, but if I was going to have, like, I don't know, if this was 16 and negative 12, that doesn't mean our GCF is 16. It would still be 4. Right. So our GCF would be 4x, because x is our lowest degree term. We can take an x out of both of these until we run out here. So putting this, 4x cubed minus 12x. You may not have to write out your GCF each time. That's fine. I think I like doing it because then it kind of, I'm less prone to missing something, and it's quit for the first time. During the front, and then you draw your parentheses. You got to fill in your two terms. So 4x cubed divided by 4x, that would be x squared. And then negative 12x divided by 4x would be negative 3. So there's your answer in factored form. So again, if I ask, just put it in factored form, that's all you have to do. The examples that are kind of in the middle row, we'll skip just for the sake of time and dealing with the screen cutting out, because I'm sure it'll do it again. But you just have to, instead of dividing 2 terms, you divide by 3 terms. So this one, it would look like your final answer. You'd have your GCF out in front, which would be 2x. Then this would be x to the 3rd plus 2x plus 2. That's what it would look like. You just are going to do it 3 times instead of 2. But you're not going to have examples like that on your homework, so don't worry about it. We're going to do the bottom 3 examples, though. So where this is different, it's the same problems, but now it says that we are solving each equation by factoring. So that means we're getting out 2 answers for x. So if you're given a problem like this, you have to go through and get it into factored form, which we already did. So the factored form of this here polynomial was 3x squared, and we said this was x minus 2 equals 0. All right, from here, we use our zero product property and we solve. Remember, zero product property says that if you have 2 things being multiplied together and they equal 0, that means one of them or both of them are equal to 0. So you got to set your first term equal to 0 and your second term equal to 0 and solve. So hopefully this piece looks familiar, where you do your 3x squared equals 0, and then x minus 2 equal to 0. And then you solve for both of them. No, it's okay. So if we're solving the first one, we have to divide by 3 first, right? To work to get x by itself. So we get x squared is equal to 0. Then how do you undo a square? Square root it. So you take the square root of both sides. Boom and boom. So x, one of them, x is equal to 0. You do your other one real quick. How do you solve for your other x? Yeah.
Are they doing this?
Wait, by doing, like...
Because you're going to get 2x to the third minus 1.
Right.
And then they're going to have to solve that out, like a third root.
Yeah, I just had them just write it as cube root of would be 1/2.
Okay. Cool.
That worksheet doesn't have nice answers. I just threw numbers together.
Okay, I just didn't know how far we were going on here. I'm confused right now.
Sure. Please use the bathroom.
Sure.
Yay.
All right, so the other one is x is equal to positive 2. Yes, Boba. Because it said our zero product property says that we can take this 3x squared or this x minus 2. One of them has to be equal to 0. So are you asking how I got all of this? That's what we did in the first problem. It's in factored form. So I just took what was up here all the way to what's down here. All right, so the next one, we already have it in factored form too. So this is, what do we have it as? 5x squared is equal to 0. So that's what we already had it in factored form. And now we gotta solve. So if we were to solve this, we got 5x squared equal to 0, and then x to the third minus 4 equal to 0. And we get our two answers for x. This one is going to be the same as the other one. X is still equal to 0. Oh, and there it goes. So one of them, x is equal to 0. Your other one you'll get by, what's your first step? You got to add 4 to both sides. So you do plus 4 and plus 4.